Hello, in this video I make a model and schema for a new kind of DATEX II publication. It's the short version. If you want more explanation, there are longer videos on the DATEX II YouTube channel. Let's say I wanted to share data about the current state of physical road access controls, things like barriers or rising bollards. Are they up or are they down? Okay, I've come to the documentation site for DATEX II, that's docs.datex2.eu, and there's a lot of useful stuff here, but I've come to the page that's the developer's favourite, the downloads. For the current version, which is currently 3.4, and here you can see all the individual modules of DATEX II. I could start off with an empty shell, but I want to reuse common and location referencing in DATEX II for my new publication, and the quickest way is to use a pre-assembled model for convenience. So I'm going to use the location one, which has common and location referencing already built in. And today we support both EAP and QEA format used by Enterprise Architect. QEA is the newer format, and that's the one I'm going to use today. I'll download this, but I'll give it a different name so that I know what it is. Call it Access Control. Open that in Enterprise Architect. I'm using version 16 today. Okay, and here we have the shell of a DATEX II project. We have common filled in and location referencing filled in, because that was the bundle I took, but payload publication is just empty. So we need somewhere to work to put our new publication. It's going to go into a new package underneath payload publication. So let me just create a diagram of somewhere to work. Now in DATEX II, you create elements by dragging from the UML profile for DATEX II onto diagrams. So first of all, we have the package that contains our new publication. We'll call it Access Control, and I'm going to give that a definition. It's always good practice in DATEX II to give things definitions. So let's see, package with constructs describing physical access controls, and I'll give that a namespace prefix which schema generation may need. Let's say ACK for access control, and you'd only need to do that once in your whole publication or extension. Now you see in the tree, in the hierarchy, there's an access control namespace underneath payload publication, and let's create a diagram there too, which we can add our new elements. Access control, that's fine. So we'll start with a class. I'll drag D2 class representing an access control device. I'll give that a definition. Let's see, physical device that controls access to a road. How about that? That'll be alright. And I want to give that class a location. So I'm going to reuse the existing point location class, which is why I brought in location referencing. And we find the point location class, and I can drag that across. And I create a link to that class. Now to create a relationship in DATEX II, slightly different from creating other structure elements. With the relation stereotype highlighted in the profile, you drag from the two items. And there I have a D2 relation. Let's say that it's mandatory, so I'll give that a multiplicity of 1. And schema generation will also need metadata for order. Okay. Now I want an attribute with an access control device representing the state. So I'll drag an attribute onto the class. Let's call it, it'll just be a boolean to say if it is blocking access or not. So let's call it is blocking access. And choose a data type. There is an existing boolean data type in DATEX II common. Okay, and I should give that a definition and order. So I'll give that an order and say true if the device is currently, I'll say currently prevents access. Okay, so let's say that as simple as that for the data I want to publish, but I need to have some kind of container to publish it in, some kind of top level element. Well, I could just allow this thing to be the top level element. Let's say I want a bundle of them in a coherent structure, so I'm going to add another class which would be called access control publication. And let's say it would have one-to-many of these access control devices. And I'll give that a little order. Keep the schema generation happy later on. And I'll give this a definition. Now I could use this element directly in my publications, but what I'm going to do is there's useful metadata that I can reuse in the existing payload publication class in common. Payload publication, there it is. And I'm going to make access control publication a specialization of payload publication. It has the D2 model root stereotype, so it can be the entry point to an instance document, and access control publication inherits that feature. And that's my model finished. So with the D2 payload package, the top level package selected, that's important, I go publish, export, XMI, and give a file name. I'll call it accesscontrol.xml, and it's XMI 2.1, that's important. Export. Okay, and that should be the job in Enterprise Architect done. Now I've come to the DATEX II schema generation tool. That's webtool.datex2.eu/wizard. The main thing to remember is datex2.eu, where you can find all the tools. So I don't want a predefined model, I want my own, which is the one that I have just made. Access control XML. I don't need any prepared selection. And these profiles are not relevant to my new publication, but I do want location, point location. Okay, I want access control publication. That's the main thing. And then I can select whether I want XML schema or JSON schema generated, or even ASN.1 definitions. Let's take JSON schema. and it's now generating that, and it's created me some results. Before I look at them, let's just check the warnings. This one is fine. It's basically saying I haven't just used the predefined DATEX II model, but I have done my own new publication. That's fine, that's expected. Just checking the other warnings. Yeah, that's all fine. So let's take a look at those generated schemas. If a zip file with a number of schemas, it includes the location referencing and common elements that I need, and we have an access control file with the access control device and its properties, its location, its Boolean state attribute, and the publication with its set of access control devices. And I can use those to help validate JSON publications. Okay, I'm going to keep the video short and stop there. Hope you found that useful. Bye.